911. What are you? That's me! That's me! That's me!
Whoa, 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 everybody. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. It's real vile time. That's right, babies. After a couple of weeks hiatus, we're back. And of course we are. We couldn't not be back. You know why? It is the first week in October, and we are ready for spooky season. We are ready for Halloween month, and we are ready to kick things off with an interview with filmmaker Chris Shern talking about his film, Evil Lurks. But before we get to that, let's talk to my co-host, the wonderful, the beautiful, the Prime Minister, the Sinister, Mr. Ruthless Chris.
How about it, everybody? What's going on, guys?
Hey, not much.
Too long.
It has been too long, damn it. Sorry.
It has been too long. I'd say it's been over an hour. So of course we got to talk to the Tower of the Hour, the Princess of Power, the Killer Kelly Miller. What's up, baby doll?
Hey, everybody. Good to be back. Good to see y'all. Missed you.
So after a couple weeks hiatus, what have you guys been up to?
Whoa. Well, it's been a interesting couple of weeks. I won a pie wrestling tournament.
Not only did she win a pirate, all right, so there's her trophy. I'm gonna give some backstory. Earlier in the day, I came across this really strange flyer and I sent it to the guys in the group chat, and I'm like, I could not figure out what the fuck this is about. It had like people wrestling on it. It just said wrestling prizes,
pie themed costumes.
We're like, pie themed costumes. We're like, what the fuck is this? So
$5 for the wrestling. We're like,
what the hell? So like me and the crew, the Ruthless Pro Wrestling guys, and Kelly, we're like, fuck it, we got nothing going on tonight. Producer Peapod's wife was out of town. He had nothing to do. So we all went down there to check it out. And once we found out it was pie wrestling, we signed Kelly up, we coerced her into it, and then I watched her ragdoll bitches in pie for hours that night. The last girl that was going to go against her just said no, she wins, because she didn't want a piece of Kelly. At one point, Kelly was drowning somebody in pie filling. Somebody was trying to catch their breath, and she was flinging pie filling into their mouth so they couldn't breathe. We have plenty of video footage. Producer Peapod, you should slide some of that in here throughout the episode.
Micah, when I fought Micah.
Yeah. So the guy that put it on decided to let two of the top girls go against him because he was gonna make himself the ringer and win the $150 tattoo gift certificate. And him and the one girl just kind of pushing hands. Kelly shoots underneath him, grabs him by the kneecap, yanks his kneecap out from under him, gets him up in a fucking clutch, and starts strangling him. Like she awesome. Really was just ragdolling people. Like people were like
6 foot fucking 8. And I don't know. Like,
people were going in there to have fun, and she was like, "Fuck that! I'm winning this shit, and I'm getting money." So it was funny as shit.
Yeah, man, I won $150 tattoo gift certificate, my trophy.
You got a ribbon.
I did not expect to wrestle that night. It was.
I love. We got a couple shots in her, she'd do it. So I was like,
I love everything about this story. Like, this story needs to be in a movie itself, or a good portion of a movie, or a whole movie. The pie wrestling contest, this is amazing.
We went to see Christine the one night, and the random girl at the bar like leaned over. She's like, "I'm a fan of your pie wrestling."
yeah. I was like, "Oh shit, you were there."
You got fans
like
now. You need merch.
Yeah, that was
wrestling queen.
What else has went on? Oh man,
bunch of movies.
We went and seen Mr. Bungle. That was a good.
Saw Mr. Bungle. Time. We went and saw Christine. We went and saw Big Lebowski at the drive-in.
Yeah. That
was a lot of fun stuff.
I've been in the gym a lot. Happy about that.
Ready to whoop some more butt.
Hey, I gotta defend my title next year.
I love that.
I doubt they'll have you back. They're terrible.
They'll be like,
I know.
Have a picture of you up at the pie wrestling booth or whatever it was. Have a picture like, do not let this woman enter the contest.
There was the one girl, she won the first round because it was like tapered, and she was supposed to go against Kelly in the second round. She just quit. She was like, no. Like, no, I'm done. So that was actually 2 people that forfeited to her during the entire tournament. She only wrestled 3 times, but those 3 times were fierce. It was like watching a starving dog that you throw a piece of meat at, and the meat thought it was there for fun, and the dog was like, I
was winning that fucking tattoo. I had my mindset on that thing. I was getting it. I did.
Well, it sounds like you guys have had an exciting couple of weeks, but let's get back on track, choo-choo, and talk about some horror movies and exploitation movies and so on and so forth that people love to hear us talk about. Mr. Ruthless Chris, why don't you get this train a chugging down the tracks of Terrorland, baby?
So I was telling these guys I'm going to do not what I normally do, but because I've watched a bunch of movies I want to talk about and normally only cover 3. So I'm going to do like kind of speed rounds where I do 2 for at the speed of 1. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Outpost 2022. This is written, directed by Joe Latrulio. You may know him from The State, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Wet Hot American Summer. He is mostly known as a comedic actor. If you look him up, you will know him instantly. Like, he was one of the cops in Superbad, or not the cops, the guy that gave him a ride that wanted to be his friend. Anyway, he wrote and directed this. It's his first movie he made. He made it with his wife. It's a very small cast. Woman goes through a traumatic experience, becomes a forest ranger, wants to get away from everybody, goes to this outpost, starts losing her mind, turns into a psychological thriller. Gave this one 3 out of 4. Loved it. Highly recommended it. Watched it on Freevee. Only on Freevee. The second one I'm going to talk about is No One Will Save You. I watched this on Hulu. This is an alien movie. It is brand fucking new, and I cannot recommend this thing enough. As a huge amount of alien action, like we're talking 5 minutes of setup, and then the first scene could have been the climax of any other movie, and then it just goes from there. It's completely unpredictable. Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot of cool subtext to it to where you can actually talk about this movie for hours after watching it. It's really, really cool. And one of the things you barely even notice is there's no fucking dialogue in this thing. There's like maybe 3 or 4 lines of dialogue.
If that, dude. I don't even remember one line. I was looking for it too.
Cannot recommend enough. I gave it 4 out of 5. So that's Outpost and No One Will Save You. Recommend them both. Outpost 3 stars. No One Will Save You 4.
Very, very cool. I'll have to check out both those movies. Kelly, you said that you've seen No One Will Save You?
Yeah. Actually, I went to watch that, and then I looked up the wrong movie, which I'll talk about. The one I actually ended up watching, No One Gets Out Alive. I looked out the wrong movie, and like halfway through, I was like, this isn't what that looked like. Then I realized I was watching the wrong one, but I did eventually end up watching this, and I agree with Chris. It is fantastic. And I noticed kind of, maybe like a quarter of the way through that there was no dialogue. So I was like looking for it. Other than like the girl screaming, there might be like a no in there, but fucking there is no script to this basically at all.
And it doesn't take away from it at all. It doesn't take away sense for the storyline, and it makes it have more of an impact.
You don't even really notice it that much because like there are some scenes where she's writing about, you know, what this relationship she had with somebody for her past and stuff. And that kind of explains a lot. And you don't really notice the no dialogue. It's kind of crazy.
That sounds like a wild ride indeed. And I need to check it out. You know, I've heard nothing but good things about that one. But that's on Hulu and Outpost is on Freevee. They both sound very, very cool. But in the meantime, what's the first movie you'd like to talk about, Killer Kelly?
I watched Dominion, the prequel to The Exorcist. It's on Tubi, 2005. What?
One of 2, because
one of 2 prequels.
It was weird. The same year they had 2 prequels to The Exorcist come out at the exact same time, and they were very different movies.
Yeah, this one it might be one of my least favorite Exorcist movies of all of them, although I might need to rewatch some of the sequels because it's been some years. But this was directed by Paul Schrader. He was the writer of Taxi Driver, and he directed American Gigolo. Also, what I found interesting, this stars, the person that plays Father Marin in this is Stellan Skarsgård. He's Bill and Alex Skarsgård's dad. Interesting. Fun fact. But yeah, basically, this is mainly about... obviously takes place before the whole Reagan incident, maybe in the 70s or 80s, early in Father Merrin's career. It focuses heavily around his like battle with his own faith. Because early in the movie, he's in Holland during World War II, and he's forced to do some really horrific shit that like makes him question his own faith. And at the same time, he's and he has a background as like a archaeologist. So after all that shit, he kind of separates himself from the church a little bit, although he's still practicing. He's just not really, he's doing more archaeological digs. And he comes across this like old church that's kind of buried in the sand, and he's got like a, what would you call it? Like a, you know, somebody that's following him. What's the word? I want to say like an intern, but like a, yeah, let's just say intern. But he's got like this other understudy. Yes, that's the word. But he's got this, younger priest, you know, like learning from him and shit. And he helps out a lot. But when they start unburying this church at this archaeological site, shit starts going down. And this is where Father Merrin first meets the demon Pazuzu, which you meet later in the original Exorcist, the demon that possesses Reagan. But yeah, I don't know. This was all right. I feel like it was more action oriented than like horror. The effects weren't the best, but it was okay. Like I said, I think it might be one of my least favorite Exorcist movies. It does more focus around Father Merrin losing his faith and trying to regain his faith through a fight through Pazuzu. And yeah. Dominion, The Exorcist on Tubi.
How many stars would you give that baby?
3. I'll give it 3. Yeah, I think 3's fair. It's not terrible. I mean, it does fit into the storyline, and it does give you some background to Pazuzu and what's going on in Kenya and like the burial of this church and stuff. I want to watch the other one now. The other one that came out that year. Is this one better?
Yeah, and that's not saying much. I give this one 2 tops.
Yeah,
the other one's even worse.
I don't know. 3 might be a little generous, but I give it that, I guess.
I haven't watched Dominion since it first came out. I would go with 3, but yeah, check it out if you haven't seen it. I think it's worth a watch, you know, if you're an Exorcist fan. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep this train chugging down the tracks, and I'm going to talk about a trilogy of movies really quickly because they're all very similar. This is the Plague Zombie trilogy. Is put out by Intervision / Severin Films, and I picked it up for a reasonable price. And because I watched the trailer, and you know, I'm a huge fan of indie filmmakers, and that's exactly what this is. The first one was made in 1997 by 3 friends with a camcorder and like a budget of $450. And it's a lot of fun. I give that one 4 stars. And then the second one came out in 2001. It is called Plague Zombie Zona Mutante. And now these are all horror comedies, heavily influenced by Peter Jackson's first film, Bad Taste, which we've covered before, about aliens trying to take over the earth by dispersing like zombies and flesh eating and blah, blah, blah. And that's what this is. You know, also the story is similar to The Undead, which we've covered before, Plan 9 from Outer Space. But like, it's so heavily influenced by Bad Taste that in part 2, Plague of Zombies, Zona Mutanta, they actually say it's similar to what happened in Kaiharo, which is the place that Bad Taste takes place in. Place. But and then the third movie, Plague of Zombie Zona Mutanta, is I give that one 4 stars as well, and that one came out in 2011. So there's a big span between these 3 movies, but it's funny because they're all very gory, very over the top. But you can see how each one has a bigger budget, but it still stars like the same 3 people who wrote and directed and starred in all 3. And you know, I had to thoroughly enjoy. In the first one, they mentioned that one of the main characters is professional wrestler, and his big weapon against these zombies is his hands of steel, and he's just punching their heads off and stuff. And by the third film, he had lost a whole bunch of weight, because there was 10 years between the second and third movie. He had lost so much weight. They explained it away by saying that he was kidnapped by aliens, and when he was returned to Earth, he looked like a different person. I love these movies, and I'm so glad that I bought them. As far as streaming, it looks like they're on Tubi and Con TV. The first one I give 4 stars. The second one 4.5 stars, just because it has that reference to bad taste, and it has a little bigger budget, but still keeps the aesthetic of the first one. And then the third one I give 4 stars as well. Super fun, super gory, ridiculous horror movie, action, sci-fi. It checks all the boxes: professional wrestling, zombies, aliens, gore, and laughter throughout the entire thing. But anyways, have any of you seen any of these Plague of Zombie movies?
I have not.
No, this is new to me, but definitely sounds up my alley.
Yeah, check it out. It's definitely worth a watch, and I'm glad that Intervision and Severin put these out. I would say buy the physical media if you get a chance. But on that note, let's keep the train a chugging down the tracks. We're gonna pass the ball over to Ruthless Chris. What you got for us next, baby doll?
I'm going to go with 2 religious horrors next. The first one is 1992's Hellmaster, directed by Douglas Scholes. I watched this on Tubi. This was a wild fucking ride. This seemed like a much more demented version of Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. It had John Saxon in it, and it had David Emmage, who you may know as Flyboy from Dawn of the Dead. Basically, you have a school where there's a professor doing experiments on his students. Opens up portal to hell. There's all kinds of weird experiments and mutants and all kinds of things. This was a wild movie. The acting's bad, really fucking gory, really fucking out there. I had a lot of fun with it. Just know what you're getting into. I found this because the director has a new movie called Thorns coming out that looks kind of like Hellraiser. I'm very excited about, and I wanted to see what he did before. So I gave that one 3.5. Definitely liked Hellmaster. Would recommend. The other one is a brand new movie called God is a Bullet. I watched this last night. This is by Nick Cassavetes, who you may know from The Notebook. It's really strange he made this movie because it's based on a true story about Satanists abducting children and turning them into slaves, and a father whose ex-wife is and her husband is murdered by these Satanists, and his daughter goes up missing. So he ends up connecting with a Satanist who has left the tribe, and she sends him on a journey to get his daughter back. This thing is hyper violent. It's extremely fucked up. It's really goddamn long. It's like 2.5 hours. So buckle up for this one. It is definitely worth a watch. The only complaint I have is the Satanist came off a little bit cartoony. And we're all pretty heavily tattooed people. There's a scene where, she's like, if she's got like neck and throat Satan tattoos everywhere, and she wants him to get tattooed. She's like, if I showed up in your church, people would look at you a certain way. Well, I'm going to take you to mine, and you got to fit in with my people. So this guy sits for an entire chest tattoo, full sleeve, and a face tattoo in one sitting. No. But aside from that, really cool movie. Definitely worth checking out. I rented this one. I don't think it's streamed anywhere. I was very curious after watching the trailer, and I would give that one 4 stars. So that was Hellmaster and God is a Bullet.
Have you seen either of these, Kelly?
I have not. Are they on Tubi? Tubi, you said?
Hellmaster is. God is a Bullet I rented.
Oh, yeah. You just said that.
I remember the Hellmaster cover art, the VHS cover art as a kid, and it always intrigued me, but I never rented it. I remember that the cover art at least reminded me of Hellraiser because the demon's face is all scarred up or has big gashes in it. Mm-hmm. And of course, Pinhead has the pins. I watched it maybe last year. or the year before when I watched a bunch of horror movies that I've never seen before because I know it was re-released by Vinegar Syndrome on Blu-ray. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars as well. Similar to what you said, cool story, great effects, great gore, acting. That's why the 3 and not a higher score, but definitely worth the watch. And it's on Tubi, of course.
Tubi.
But yeah, and I've
Sponsor us, Tubi.
I've heard nothing but good things about God is a Bullet, so I'll have to check that out ASAP as well. Killer Kelly Miller, killing pie contest. What's up next, baby?
All right, the next movie I'm going to talk about is kind of getting a lot of hype right now, and as it should. This one is 2023's Talk to Me. This movie, dude, I liked this one a lot. This might actually be worth its own episode, so I won't go into too much, but it's really a basic concept. The writer and directors, Danny and Michael Philippor, this is their debut, debut film as directors, and it's fucking great. I can't wait to see what they do in the future. Like I said, this is a really simple concept. You've seen this concept in a lot of movies. It's basically a bunch of kids playing a Bloody Mary kind of type of party game, except this party game, somebody's got this hand that he acquired, from somewhere. Somebody gave it to him and told him like how it works. You hold the hand and you say, talk to me. And then you're supposed to see a spirit in front of you. And then if you say, I let you in, then they possess you. The thing about this party game is you can't let them be in you for more than 90 seconds. If they're in you for 90 seconds, you take a chance of them staying with you forever. And it really affects you later and really fucks you up later in life. And so these kids, it seems like it's kind of like a high to them, Remember those games when you were little, you used to just make each other pass out for a minute? Yeah, it seems like that sort of thing, and they're all laughing and filming it. And then, of course, shit hits the fan. Obviously, somebody's in there for longer than they need to be. And I'm not going to go too far into it. But what I really liked about this movie is, with it being such a simple concept, and me saying that, it sounds really fucking cliche. But the way they do it, their character development, it's very realistic with the characters, and you can really identify with the anxiety of this film, and it's really intense. The kill scenes, there's some really fucked up graphic scenes in it, which makes it awesome. You can see a Exorcist influence with the atmosphere of this movie, which it also is a possession movie, obviously. But yeah, I highly recommend this movie. I would give it a 4. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. I don't think it's streaming for free. I rented it, but it's fucking fantastic. It will probably be in my top 10 movie list at the end of the year.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about Talk to Me, and I'm sorry that I missed it in the theater, but I'm looking forward to it streaming, or if it comes out on a physical copy and it's reasonably priced, I'll definitely pick it up. Chris, have you seen Talk to Me?
I have not. It's definitely on my to see, real high on my to see list, because I've heard nothing but good stuff about it, but I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, do it. It's an A24 movie too. Obviously, they've been coming out with some bangers lately, But yeah,
awesome.
This is another one, another good one. I just really like how simple and cliche the concept is, and then them doing something different with it. Good.
I like it. I love it. Give me more of it. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about another movie, and this one is one I've been looking forward to for a while, and it's got a lot of triggering sort of aspects to it. If you are offended by sexual violence, if you're offended by realistic violence, if you're easily offended in general, you probably should not watch this. But me, on the other hand, I love extreme horror, and this definitely falls into that category. This is 2022's, directed by John Swab's Candyland. When I originally saw the poster, I was like, oh, wait a minute, they're making a movie based on Candyland? Because, there's so many there's so many gritty movies based on childhood stories or childhood books or games made into full-length movies. It is nothing like the board game Candyland. This is about a seemingly naive and devout young woman who finds her way into the underground world of truck stop sex workers, aka lot lizards. It's graphic. It is disturbing. It is great. It is streaming on Tubi, so you've got no excuse not to see it if you're interested in that type of thing. But the director is known for Ida Red, Body Brokers, the One Day as a Lion, like more intense action movies. I'm think this is one of his first forays into more of a horror genre, and since it is so gritty and so realistic, it's not for all people. If you're into movies like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, you'll I can't really say enjoy, but you'll like this movie. It's hard to say enjoy, but it's a great movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Once again, hard to say enjoy, but I liked it a lot. I loved it actually, and I'm giving it 4.5 stars. I would pick this up on physical copy and add it to my collection. It reminded me a lot of this movie that stars Asia Argento. It's called The Heart is Deceitful Above All Things, I believe, and it came out in 2002. If you've seen this movie, you'll understand. It's very similar with truck stop sex workers. It's very similar with the graphic, realistic violence. So if you've seen that, you can prepare yourself for this. But this changes it a little bit in that there is a slasher and she's not mentally well. I can't say too much because I'll give it away, but yeah, it's on Tubi. You have no excuse not to watch it. It's free. 4.5 stars from me. Have you guys seen Candyland or heard about it?
I've heard about it. I've heard mixed things, but I also, from your description, I can understand why. Because a lot of people can't handle extreme horror like maybe we can. And I think that has been some of the negativity I heard is it's a little too sleazy or fucked up, but I am interested in checking it out.
Very cool. Well, I would suggest it. I think you dig it. But in the meantime, we got one last round to go before we get to our interview with Chris Shern. So, Mr. Ruthless Chris, would you please bless us with one or two last movie reviews quickly?
Church is in session. It's time for a blessing. First one is Last Voyage of the Demeter. Came out 2023. This is by Andre Orvidal, who made Autopsy of Jane Doe, which I think is a modern horror masterpiece. He also made Troll Hunter. This is I've been interested in seeing this as a movie for a while. Even before I heard that they were making this, I always thought it'd be a cool idea for a movie. It's basically based off the captain's log from the novel Dracula. Basically what happens on the Demeter, which if you remember during the Dracula story, he gets boxed up, sent to London on this boat. Boat shows up a ghost ship. Well, this tells the story of what happened there. And it's basically, you have a Nosferatu style Dracula. And he is, he starts off very weak and he's feeding on the livestock in this boat and he starts eating the crew and feeding on the crew. I've heard mixed reviews on this movie. I really liked it a lot. I thought it was a really cool, interesting take on some very, very worn territory, especially when it comes to like Dracula story. I think it's been done to death. And no one's really took a swing at this part of the story, which I always liked. I liked the creature design. It's more the winged, Nosferatu, Salem's Lot style vampire. Good gore. Special effects, are a little on the wonky side, but it's a low budget. So I give that 3.5. The other one I'm going to talk about, Kelly and I watched the other day, called Natty Knox.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
This is a brand new horror movie, 2023, directed by Dwight H. Little. This was interesting. It feels like they're trying to set it up as like a Candyman or like Bloody Marys type of thing. Natty knocks 9 times. Like it's this thing where there's this dead woman in town, and they think if you hear 9 knocks at your door, she's there to come kill you. But that's not really what it turns into. It turns into more this Bill Moseley demented serial killer kind of thing. Robert Englund's also in this. You can see them two face off, which is pretty cool. The tone of this thing is what was really weird about it, because they made a conscious effort to make it feel like it's not in any certain year. Like there's no like graphic tees. Everyone's like everyone's dressed like mid 2000s, late 90s.
Like, no, it seems like through the 80s up until like the early 2000s, you know, it's weird.
The only technology you see is cell phones. And at one point in the background, you see a couple Ring doorbells, but there's no flat screen TVs. There's no computers. No one drives modern cars. Everything just kind of seems like lost in time. And you can't really pinpoint when this movie is supposed to be taking place. It gives it a really fucking odd feel.
Mm-hmm.
And it can kind of be a little disarming, you know. It's really strange, but I would definitely recommend this. This is Bill Moseley at some of his best. It's kind of an awkward, weird movie, but I still really enjoyed it. I don't think it went fully for what they were trying to do, but I could see this like maybe making some sequels and whatnot. Yeah, it was different. It was interesting. I gave that one 3 stars. So Last Voyage of the Demeter, 3.5. Natty Knox, 3. And I watched Natty Knox on Tubi, and Last Voyage was a rental.
Very cool. That very exciting. I definitely want to check out both of those. For nothing but good things about both, and you know, your critique solidifies that. Kelly, you said you watched Natty Knox as well.
I did. I think I'd give it a 2.5, but it was, you know, it's worth a watch. The Last Demeter is on my list. That story sounds really interesting to me, and I really want to watch that one.
Very, very cool. Well, one last round, Killer Kelly. What you been watching?
As I said earlier, when Chris watched No One Will Save You, I was actually searching for that movie, not remembering the name of it, and typed in No One Gets Out Alive, and I stumbled across this one on Netflix, 2021. This one follows a girl. She's like an immigrant. She's in town. She's desperate for a place to stay in Cleveland, and she comes across this creepy boarding house run by this creepy dude named Red and his brother Becker. Her mom had just passed away. She's an undocumented immigrant, so she's having a hard time getting like fake IDs and jobs and stuff at the time. So she's really taking what's available to her. And it happens to be this creepy ass boarding house where there's a bunch of other girls staying. Almost instantly, she starts hearing all these weird noises, and you know that there's something up with this place. They kind of give it a direction that it's something up with the landlords, Red and Becker, and they take it somewhere where you don't expect it to go. It does have a paranormal feel. I do want to say something about the monster, although it's going to give it a little bit away. But the monster almost is like its mouth is its vagina, and it's like bites off heads. It's so gross. I shouldn't even be mentioning the monster, but I just felt like saying that. It was a decent movie. It had an alright, like, gothic horror, definitely a gothic horror feel to it. It's pretty dark and some good misdirections, but I don't know. I'd give it about a 3.5. It wasn't a bad movie. It's worth a watch.
What's it on?
Netflix.
Very cool. Yeah, I remember watching this. I don't remember too much about it, but I just looked it up. I give it 3.5 stars. I agree. It's definitely worth a watch. Chris, have you seen No One Gets Out Alive?
I have not.
Check it out if you get a chance, baby.
One of the few decent horror movies on Netflix. No.
Very true. Very true.
Harold's Game was fun.
Yeah, there's a few good ones out there, actually.
Well, I got one last movie to talk about, and this is a highlight of my 2 weeks away. I had some friends over, and we watched back-to-back sequels of Waxwork and Waxwork 2. I'm not going to talk about Waxwork 2 at all, because nobody needs to hear me talk about Waxwork 2. Maybe I'll talk about it later, but right now, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite horror comedies of all time, Waxwork, 1988. This movie is a comfort film for me I think I watched it when it first came out, so I would have been 10 years old. But this movie is amazing. You know, it's about a wax museum owner who uses his horror exhibits to unleash evil onto the world. there's so many great characters. I mean, and then it stars Zach Galligan, which you know him probably mostly from Gremlins.
Okay.
I don't know if he did this 4 years after Gremlins, so we were making a lot of Gremlins jokes during the movie. But you know, the cast is amazing, and it's so much fun. Seeing like every little wax exhibit is, you know, it says that it's characters from history, but you know, it's like Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, or a werewolf, or you know, aliens, or you know, the Invisible Man. It's great. It's so much fun, and each little exhibit is almost like a movie unto itself, is a story unto itself, and it goes back to the main movie. But it's not an anthology by any means, so if you haven't seen it, don't get that idea. But at the same time, it's also one of those movies. It kind of feels like even though it takes place in the 80s, it almost feels like a throwback to the 50s, the way that the characters are dressed and the way that they talk. And like this waxwork just appears and they're just like, oh, I've never seen this waxwork here before. Let's check it out. It's like, what? Who even talks like that? Who even knows what a waxwork is? Even in 1988, like teenagers wouldn't be like, oh, look, a waxwork just shows up in our little quiet suburban neighborhood. No, but I love it. I love everything about this movie. I give it 5 stars all day long, just for the nostalgia factor, just for the fact that, you know, like I said, it's a comfort movie. I could watch this any day, every day, feeling down, feeling up. I love it. It's so much fun. You guys, have you seen Waxwork from 1988?
Yes, I have dozens of times. I got like the little double DVD. It's got Waxwork 1 and 2 on it. I don't really think Waxwork 2 has got a whole lot of play. But Waxwork 1 is, like you said, it's a comfort movie. It's so fun, cheesy. It hits all the right parts of like what I look for in an 80s movie, you know, like the special effects are like what I like, performances are what I like, you know, they're just over the top enough, you know. It's like one of those movies that you remember from your childhood that's like putting on like a warm blanket when you put it on, you know, like you could just I followed under one of those movies I could kind of always watch, you know, like there's certain movies if I turn on the TV and even if it's in the middle of it, I'm like, I'm watching that, you know. It's one of those for me.
Yeah, I've seen this. This is another like good old classic that I need to revisit because it has been some years on this. But you're right, it is a comfort movie. It does hit all the spots for that era, and yeah, I'd recommend it. I'd give it a 4.
Very, very cool. Well, after talking about all these great movies, let's get over to our guest, Mr. Chris Shern, and talk about his first major full-length movie, Evil Lurks. Shall we?
We shall.
Let's go.
And now for our feature presentation.
Guacamole, Real Vile is totally excited tonight. We got our first guest for October. It's Halloween month, and it's going to be spooktacular. It is filmmaker Chris Shern, and we've got a doozy of a movie to talk about. Let's get right to it. Chris, say hi to the people in Real Vile land real quick.
How you guys doing?
All right. And for everybody at home that isn't really familiar with your work, we're going to be talking about his newest movie, Evil Lurk. Can you tell the people at Real Vile Land a little bit about you, would you?
Yeah, my name is Chris Shern. I'm a musician, indie filmmaker. I pretty much got my vibe into everything doing music. I'm in a band called Invisible Cartoons. We call our music very, very, very positive, uplifting, like rock music. We call it Smile Rock. So this is our logo. So I'm always
Rock.
So I'm in a band called Invisible Cartoons and very positive stuff. And I'm into horror and I like horror movies. And you know, I've done shorts and things here and there. And I really started getting more into making movies in general, short films, probably around 2013. And finally, you know, around end of 2018, 2019, I started I co-wrote and co-direct the movie called Evil Lurks, which is on Tubi TV, out there. So yeah, I'm out there creating. I'm a creator. That's what I call myself.
Very, very cool. Yeah, we love that around here at Real Vile. Now, Evil Lurks is your first full-length movie that you've co-wrote, co-directed. You did the music, which I'll tell you, one of the things that stood out to me most was the score.
Awesome.
That's one of my favorite parts of the film.
Thank you.
Now, when you set out to make this film, it's jarring to the viewer. At times it has a quick cut edit, sort of like a music video. Other times it's blurry, like an acid trip, like a fever dream. And other times it's a little bit more linear. Was that whole editing process deliberate? Did you want to make it jarring to the viewer?
Yeah, because the premise of the movie is about a hypnotherapist who kind of singled out this one of his clients or whatever, and there's something that's happening within. I play the hypnotherapist, and there's something that happens to him that kind of focus on one of his patients, played by Amanda Winston, and I think the mindset of what he was trying to do, what he was doing, and how they kind of was in this flow, and how he kind of put her in this place and kind of went back to her memories and things that kind of traumatized her. I think us as human beings, there's a lot of things that circulate in our mind. I think we're moving at 20 miles an hour, and sometimes we're moving 20,000 miles an hour. Just like everything is just so like everything's so blurry or so like fast and quick moving. And and as we see, being on this computer, this world is quick moving. Everybody's trying to get in, get out, and all that stuff. So the editing process and how I scope the movements of the movie is definitely based on the mental mindset of the main character, Kimberly. So yeah, so that was all done deliberately. Obviously, and also I came from making a feature film. I came from making music videos. So I make music videos that kind of get real like skitsy and crazy and stuff like that. So adding that element to the aspect really was part of it. I think I broke I think I broke some rules in making a feature film within what I do as a visual artist, making experimental stuff and then also making music videos. So I was like, I ain't got nothing to lose. Nobody throwing money at me to make this movie. So I definitely experimented a lot, and it ended up being what it was.
I think with the kind of movie it was, it almost gives you the freedom to break some rules and not really have to go into the film like conventions, because it does operate on somewhat of a dream logic kind of scape, to where it's okay not to, like make it so conventional, because that actually leads into a stronger case into the story you're trying to tell.
Right, exactly. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I need 100 more people to say that so they can.
I'd pick apart movies, man. When I watch them, I'm the guy that's like looking for subtext and like looking for like what's going on in the background and all that crap. Very. I'm like, I don't think anything's deliberate when somebody's trying to show me something, so I'm always looking for the other things,
Yeah. It was a lot of symbolism in the whole movie, Yeah, it was a lot of stuff going on. My goal was my hope was to people to like, all right, they saw it. I'm confused. All right, we'll watch it again. Oh, now I get it. So that was kind of the whole concept, because there's a lot of things that's hidden in the movie that you just got to really pay attention to.
Yeah, it did get confusing at parts. Like at parts, it did seem all over the place. Which you're right, though. It fit with the storyline with the hypnosis, and you don't know if that was like some sort of psychosis thing going on. But it all came together at the end. Like it did actually like all come together. So yeah.
I appreciate it. I mean, I don't want to get too artsy with it, because people call me and say, "Dude, what was that? What was that? Was she always hypnotized at the beginning?" and all this stuff was just a dream. And I was like, and I say it's subjective. I'm like, either
open interpretation.
Yeah, interpretation. I mean, and the reality of it all is she was going through these things in her life, and that was real life things. That was miscarriages and bad relationships and rape and all these other real world things. And then she created this dark horror atmosphere to make things come across a little bit different. I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, a lot of things happen within the movement of the movie that kind of was disoriented and the structure. And the thing about that is, man, it's like me as a creative, either you're gonna get it or you're not. I don't really make straightforward like, all right, I'm gonna kill you type horror movies. I like to play with the mind and stuff like that. So I like when people break it down and try to understand, and then people who just like, I didn't get it, man. It's like, that's cool. I care, but I'm like, hey, man, I'm just gonna do what I gotta do, and hopefully, people like you invite me to your show and we talk about this weird shit I just made.
We like the weird shit.
Yeah.
Well, it feels like unconventional films are very on trend right now, with the popularity of Skinamarink, which none of us understood until Chris, the suplexicist, actually explained it to the rest of us.
Okay.
So I could see, a little push from Evil Lurks, and this movie could take off. It could be a real cult hit. It reminded me of like David Lynch's early work, a lot of David Lynch sort of dreamy, passing through reality and dreams. It reminded me a lot of David Lynch's work, and it also reminded me of 2015's They Look Like People, especially like the cinematography by Perry Blackshear. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie.
Yeah, I've heard of that movie. I don't want to come off like I'm some kind of cinephile and but I watch a lot of like international films, a lot of French horror. I watch a lot of German expressionism. A lot of things kind of inspired the look of it on dark. People respect Dario Argento. I like him, but I like more of the aesthetic of his movies more than I actually like the other parts of his movies. So a lot of that
style over substance.
Area, yeah. So a lot of the stuff with the grain and the oversaturation of the colors that was in Evil Lurks. If you guys ever seen Mandy,
love Mandy.
Yeah, that aspect inspired me. So yeah, that was a lot of I think a lot of people felt like they were very uncomfortable how close the camera was to the people, where they was kind of like talking in the camera. And I actually got that movement from the movie Moonlight.
Oh, okay.
I haven't heard of that movie. Yeah. So I went from dramas to horror to to a couple of things. It was like comedy. I think I found it was a color palette that I saw on the Justice League when I was watching Justice League. Like, oh, I like that. So I take a lot of different elements of different movies and stuff like that. But I do watch a lot of older horror movies because I love the aesthetic. I don't know, horror movies don't look right when it's too clean and 4K-ish. Yeah.
Agreed. Chris and I had this conversation the other day about like digital movies now versus film, and it just doesn't have the same feel.
No.
I did notice that a lot of times your coloring was very like nodded towards like stuff like Argento, with like the heavy reds and blues and stuff like that, like coloring wise and lighting wise. Yeah,
it was two aspects of that. I liked the color, and then it was like, damn, we didn't like this right, and this and something was weird, and then we had to like, all right, well, this is the best we're gonna do, because that was fault. Like when the scene when the daughter finds out, like that, her mother, I forgot what scene it was. The daughter, she found out about her mother when she, because she was adopted or whatever, because she had like the paperwork, and she's like, yeah, I saw this woman was in my dreams. We shot it in color, but then we made it black and white. And on one spot, I was kind of doing it. I was kind of doing that on purpose, but it's like, okay, this would be something different. Then I made the aspect ratio to like 4.3 or whatever. But then also the coloring was so off kilter. I was like, all right, we're just gonna make it black and white because it ain't working. Because we shot something and then 3 months later we had to shoot the scene where she's sitting on the couch. So it was a different vibe. So the color change was different. So it was like I just make it black and white. So certain aesthetics I did for the sake of, all right, there's something happened. We got to make it better. Some things I had in my head. Then, you know, when you're making a low budget movie, man, you're trying to find all your twists and turns to figure it all out. So, but it was fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like I was saying one of my favorite aspects of this movie was the score and the soundtrack. And that was another aspect you had your hand in or did entirely. Did you have any specific influences in that, or how did that come about? Could you talk a little bit about that soundtrack, that score, please?
Yeah, the score pretty much, I can't take all the credit. I was composer and music supervisor. I had a ton of people help me out with instruments. The song Blood Moon, where the Rich, played by Bill D. Russell, he was, playing the song on a record player, and he was dancing around. My buddy Ryan Caldwell, who's also in Invisible Cartoons, my guitar player. He plays guitar.
Nice.
My guitar player. Yeah, he composed that. We wrote it on piano. I had my phone, push record. We wrote it on piano. And I said, cool, I want this. Give me like 100 seconds. Give me 100 seconds of this. He said, okay. Dude comes back with come back with a 3.5 minute of the song. He gets somebody to, get an extra person to sing on. He get our buddy play guitar. He gets some upright bass and all this stuff. So he did all of those elements and all of the kind of like weird ambient type sounds that pretty much I love found sounds. I'm always recording things. I work at a print shop. Nice. So there's always different machines and textures and stuff going on. So I'm always just like creating different things. Or my buddy who's in electronic music, like I was making these weird sounds in an event, and I said, "Hey, I got this recording I did." I was like, whoa, doing monk sounds in an event, and then I said, "Here, take this and make it sound weird," and then he'll manipulate it. But yeah, I mean, my influence is Johnny Green, was in the Greenwood from Radiohead. Johnny Greenwood, is it Greenwood? But for real, okay, the guitar player from Radiohead, he composed a lot. You guys seen There Will Be Blood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll drink your milkshake.
He composed that score, yeah. So like stuff like Trent Reznor is one of my instruments. So you can hear a lot of industrial kind of elements to some of the sounds on the score. And then a lot of that stuff, I had a lot of friends and stuff like that help me out. And a lot of those songs was like 15, 16 years old. And I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna throw it in a movie. It's about 46 pieces of music in the movie. The original cut of the movie was 2 hours and 28 minutes.
Oh damn!
Wow.
Yeah. So that means we have 51 pieces of music, and then it went down to like 46. So yeah,
that's very.
I had a lot of help as well.
Yeah, the script itself. I mean, for making a low budget movie, like, was it daunting with the amount of special effects you had written in there? Because it is a very visual movie. Like there is a lot of special effects. There's a lot of stuff going on screen. I mean, like, was it daunting to you to be like, how am I going to pull this off with the money we got? Because, not even like 3-4 minutes goes by before there's another, visual piece going on in this movie, whether it be, like open a door and something cosmic's going on outside the door, like the shadow people or, things like that, like it was. Did you find it risky writing something like that and be like, how the shit are we going to pull this off?
Like anything, man. Us low budget filmmakers, man. Everybody want to be Tarantino. Most people want to be Tarantino, Spielberg, and all these other things. And you have high expectations. You write this. So I co-wrote the script with Aaron Hawkins. He co-directed as well. So I co-directed and we wrote, and we was ambitious, and we was like, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and we were writing out the script. And the script was only 15, which is weird because the movie was 2.5 hours original cut. The script was only 72 pages long.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so we put it all together, and then as we was going and we was moving things around, my buddy, and I love Nick Grove. He's acting. He does this for a living. He's a 3D designer, animator type guy.
Mhm.
So all the hallway stuff, when Kimberly's walking through the hallway, he composited all of that. Amanda Winston, who played Kimberly, we shot all that stuff, the green screen stuff, in my basement. So I set up some lights I got from Home Depot, set it all up, and then I got my guy Nick. He had a lull, so he was like, "Man, I ain't got no work. I just want to do something fun. You know, most of my stuff is corporate, whatever." He said, "You got something for me?" I said, "I got this. I got a minute and a half of this. Can you make something out of this?" Oh yeah. Took him 3 weeks, made it, and that minute and a half of stuff I put it all through the movie.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and then all the other stuff, I did all the visual effects. I did most of the visual effects on that, learning from scratch because I didn't have a clue. YouTube tutorials is a godsend.
Yeah, they are.
The scene, if you remember the scene where the black smoke is blowing out of Erica, the young girl played by Samantha May, blowing out her mouth.
Yeah.
My buddy Eric, who I didn't know did visual stuff. I was like, man, he said, "How's the movie going?" I said, "Man, I need some better smoke. I'm not liking the smoke I got coming out of my mouth." He said, "Oh, I can make smoke. Like, he made some real thick, puffy black smoke." "Oh yeah, I can do that." And I'm thinking he's joking with me. He come back, he said, "Yeah, I made some smoke for you." And then I composited, put it, set it up. I was like, "Holy shit, cool. This is awesome."
Nice.
So between me, Nick, and Eric and my buddy Josh did some stuff here and there. Yeah, man, that was our special effects team. I'm proud of that stuff. Proud of what we did. Certain things I wish we could have done better. Some of the blood stuff. I hate CGI blood like anybody else, but when you're in a pinch, you got to make stuff happen. But yeah, we did a lot of stuff. It's funny because I got a lot of things that was influenced by the first Nightmare on Elm Street. That's thrown into that. If you see a guy like getting pulled into the wall,
yeah,
I took that from that setup and found a tutorial to emulate it. And yeah, man, there was a lot of nutty stuff with that. Do I ever want to do that again? Hell no. That was a nightmare, dude. I'm like, no, I'm not.
I could tell by watching. I was like, man, this guy's got some balls to write all this shit in his first movie.
Yeah, my balls fell off when that movie was done. I was exhausted.
His next movie's gonna take place in a field with 2 actors and no special effects.
Well, if you have like 5 minutes, I'm gonna talk to you about my new movie, and that's all practical.
Let's hear
into that. Let's not talk about that.
That was the next question. I was about to say, Mr. Chris Shern, now that we've talked about Evil Lurks, and you can watch it on Tubi, which is amazing for indie filmmakers. I'm so glad that your film is on there.
Love Tubi.
Thank you.
But what is next for Mr. Chris Shern? What is the next project? Because we're tantalized, we're teased with this beautiful fever dream, Evil Lurks. What is next?
Another fever dream. No.
This one takes place underwater with lava.
I just like waking up sweating. Like, what the hell just happened? Why that bunny try to chase me? All right. So this next movie is called Vic Effects. The movie is about a Foley artist who makes horror movies, who makes sound effects for horror movies. She's also is going to be played by Amanda Winston, who I hope you guys have on your show one day. She's gonna star as Vic Paulette. She's playing a Foley artist. Okay. And it's a mix between mockumentary, anthology, surrealism, fever dream, and kind of crazy stuff happens. So as she gets a job working on a horror film, she's creating these sounds, and as she's creating these sounds, these things around her are enhancing into her reality. Okay. So that's pretty much what that premise is.
I'm interested.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. For real.
Yeah. We started shooting a couple of weeks ago. We did 3 days, and if you guys want to keep up to date with it, you can go on Kissing Castle Productions. Right now we don't have our website yet, but we have a Facebook. Just look up Kissing Castle Productions. And
we'll be sure to link it.
Got some screenshots and different stuff happening with that. You know, my goal is to try to get everything filmed this year and then start editing it and, you know, just kind of go from there. And, you know, it's not going to be a 2-hour movie. You know, my goal is I'm pushing between 75, 80 minutes long. Yeah. But no, it's a different kind of vibe, man. And I'm excited about it. Like it's a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And mostly practical effects.
Well, when that comes out, make sure you hit us up. We'll have you back on to talk about it.
Oh, definitely, man. I'm thank you for having me. And you know, at this point in time, but yeah, check out Evil Lurks. Check out Invisible Cartoons if you're feeling like you want to dance, man.
And Happy Rock with a guitar. Yeah. I'm gonna check.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody else got that name, so check us out. Follow us on Spotify, and yeah, man. You know, I'm out here creating. I want to, you know, I appreciate you guys doing what you do to help independent artists. I'm an independent filmmaker. I'm a low budget filmmaker. I don't want to be Hollywood. I don't want to be Tarantino. I want to make the movies I want to make, and if I get a little following, I'm happy about it. So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, we try to have at least one independent filmmaker on a month, and you know we're happy to start off October with Mr. Chris Shern and highlighting Evil Lurks. Any final words before we wrap up this episode, Chris?
Yeah, just thank you for the time, man, and also, you know, if I get enough footage, I'm hoping to get a teaser trailer for Vic Effects this year, and I'll let you know. I'll keep you guys posted, man, and we'll keep it rocking, man. Support independent creators.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Chris, Kelly, any final words for the Real Vile fans out there in Real Vile land?
Chris?
Oh, you want me to go first? Definitely check out this guy's film, man. It's definitely a trip. Buckle up for that one. You know, be ready to pay attention. It's not an easy listen or easy watching popcorn flick. This is one that's a cerebral one. Go into like you're about to watch Jacob's Ladder or some shit.
Yeah,
exactly. Definitely enjoy it.
That's what I was going to mention earlier, is how we were talking about how it's also similar to, you know, Jacob's Ladder before you got on. But check it out.
Yeah. Oh wait,
not the new Jacob's Ladder, the '80s one.
Yeah, I know you guys mentioned David Lynch. So when you see the woman in the bar singing the song in Evil Lurks, that's the girl in the Radiator, and Eraserhead.
Oh,
really?
That was my influence. If you guys seen the Razorhead, obviously, right?
Oh, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, so girl in the Radiator. That was the vibe I got with the bartender singing her.
I saw Eraserhead way too early, and that baby haunted me as a child.
Oh,
yeah.
Watch it. The best time to watch Eraserhead is in the wintertime when it's cold out, and you know get a little something, and then just watch it. I'm like, holy shit, man, it's nuts.
That actually sounds like a good night.
Oh yeah,
it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. I might have to
watch The Lighthouse. I think I can say that too. The Lighthouse is a cold winter movie. A little smoke, and then watch The Lighthouse. I think that's a good.
Yeah,
I like weird movies, man. I like things that make you something. Now you need to, Chris. You need to explain Skinamarink because it hurt my soul. I don't think I'll watch it again.
I'll tell you what. I'll hit you up offline because it's going to take me like 20 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
It takes a while, but I promise you, these guys will tell you I do have it figured out, and it does make sense.
We did do an episode about it where he broke it down a little, but have him tell you about it because we were.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. Because
I'll hit you up on your socials. We'll have a long talk about it.
Yeah, it hurt me. I
know that was me and Germ too. We're like, wow.
Yeah, man.
They came in, then I start breaking it down, and they're like, "Oh shit, you're right. Oh shit, okay." They're like, "Yeah, it's just my brain it doesn't stop. I start watching shit, and I start just dissecting it, and the pieces start coming apart. You know, like
the power of the internet and word of mouth. That movie made $2 million at the box office. More power to him.
Wow.
Hey, you know what? You don't have to like it, but it definitely gives people like you and other independent guys like more of a chance to get those kinds of movies.
Oh, I get that man. I give him mad kudos. I'm like, congratulations. I would never watch a movie again, but hell yeah.
Well, even with me understanding it, I'll never watch it again either.
Yeah. So. Terrifier 2. I can't wait till the next one come out. I gave him a standing ovation for that shit. That was crazy. I love it.
Hopefully it's not 3 hours long.
Yeah,
No.
that was my main problem with it. It was way
Yeah,
too
my
long.
only problem with that movie was 2.5 hours of
Yeah.
slashers, just too much.
He even said I did that because I just wanted to throw it on, and the next movie would not be that long. Because he just like, okay, these guys gave me $250,000 to make this movie. I'm gonna put everything in there, and that was his
He
whole.
made the,
That was
he
his
made
whole
the first one
explanation.
for like $8,000. You know.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I'll let y'all-
No.
I'll let y'all go.
We love having people on. We love having
Yeah.
indie filmmakers on and talking about movies. And it's been a pleasure talking to you, Chris Shern. And once again, everybody, it's free on Tubi. Of course, Tubi. We love Tubi here at Real Vile. Sponsor us, Tubi. But in the meantime, I'm just going to sign off by saying, keep it creepy, keep it spooky, keep it real vile forever. God bless America and send nudes.